Good evening. Thank you for attending or coming with us to our Board of Education regular meeting. Today is July 16th. The time is 6:01. We call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Keller?
Here.
Ms. Mabry?
Here.
Ms. McIntosh?
Here.
Ms. Shepherd?
Here.
Mr. Ferguson?
Here. We have a quorum. Next, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, I have a recommendation to approve our meeting agenda.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Matt Keller, Board Member Keller, second by Leanne Shepherd. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Ms. Shepherd?
Yes.
Ms. Mabry?
Yes.
Ms. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson?
Yes, our agenda is adopted. Thank you. Next, we have a recognition of Mr. Terry Emery, our Marysville City Manager. We have a resolution I'll read into the record. Whereas Terry Emery has served the City of Marysville as its first city manager from January 2016 until July 2026. Whereas Mr. Emery served as a city administrator from May 2011 until he was appointed as city manager. Whereas Mr. Emery guided the community as it transitioned from mayor-council to a council-manager form of government, which brought stability and elevated professionalism to our municipal operations. Mr. Emery led our community through a period of regional growth in Central Ohio, where he balanced strategic development and proactive infrastructure management, directly fostering a safe, vibrant, and prosperous environment where local families and students could thrive. Mr. Emery was instrumental in establishing and promoting the Marysville-Yory Student Exchange Program, which is a unique international educational program in which high school students from Marysville schools and students from Yory, Japan become fully immersed in the daily life of the host family, community, and local school. Mr. Emery collaborated with the Union County and Marysville School District to form the Union County Council of Governments, or the COG, which participates in a cooperative purchasing program that benefits taxpayers by reducing administrative overhead, eliminating redundancy, and establishing a shared fiber optic network. Mr. Emery was a strong partner in expanding the School Resource Officer SRO program, in which the Marysville Police Division provided an SRO to each school building within the city limits. The City of Marysville partnered with Marysville Schools to help fund this operation, and the expanded SRO program was well received by students, staff, parents, and strengthened the overall sense of community and school safety. Mr. Emery led the development and implementation of the Marysville Police Cadet Program, ensured internship and seasonal employment opportunities, and student representation on the Marysville Parks and Recreation Commission were available to all our students. And Mr. Emery would often visit school buildings and at times was a guest classroom presenter to share with students the various aspects of the operational functions of local government. Mr. Emery leveraged multiple state of the city events to bring both our Superintendent, Dr. Allen, and Superintendent Dr. Howard, as well as panelist representatives from our school district to showcase our various initiatives and to share the importance of protecting and providing a high-quality public school education to the residents of Marysville. And Mr. Emery worked collaboratively with the City Council and the Board of Education through meaningful dialogue and public feedback to adopt the 2023 amended reinstated school compensation agreement, which permits 100% of the additional revenue generated from residential TIF areas to be directed directly to the school district. This agreement had a positive effect on the school levy outcome and strengthened the collaborative nature between Marysville schools and the City of Marysville. Throughout Mr. Emery's service to the City of Marysville, he consistently recognized that a community's strength lies in the safety, well-being, and education of its youth, and that this strength is secured by an unwavering partnership between the City of Marysville and Marysville schools. Now, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education and the Marysville Exempted Village School District hereby does recognize and thank Mr. Terry Emery for his dedication and service to the City of Marysville, and we wish him the best in his future endeavors. If, yes, if we want to, we can go and we'll come down and greet you and take a picture, and then we'll have comments and conversation afterwards.
How's that? I want to thank you for allowing me to come before you tonight. And I just wanted to say a couple things. The appealing part about coming to Marysville originally was the potential of what Marysville could become. It was pretty well known, certain things that had occurred in the previous to me coming here, that the city was set up well and was going to be a very appealing place for, again, what we're seeing right now, the growth and the development of the community. I was really fortunate to be able to work with 3 superintendents. I worked with Larry Zimmerman for a period of time, and then Diane Allen, and obviously now Dr. Howard. All the superintendents were really exceptional to work with. I appreciated our involvement with the schools, and I wish you the best. I think, again, I think even today, the potential of not only what Marysville can become, and that includes the schools, the city, even the county, is the potential is off the charts. And I just ask you all to continue working together to make sure the sky's the limit. Let's try to reach it. So thank you very much.
Are there any board members that want to comment or share any comments? Anyone? Dr. Howard?
Yes, thank you, board. And Mr. Emery, I just want to convey a deep, heartfelt thank you. Coming back to the town I grew up in to serve as a superintendent from the very first night when the board opted to select me. You were here, as well as city council members, other city leaders, and it just really struck me, something that was very much appreciated. You were very instrumental in making a lot of introductions to me. I knew a lot of familiar faces, but there's a lot of new faces too. And so you could not have done anything more to make me feel more welcome. And certainly I truly believe that there's great collaboration that exists between the district and the city. And I think a lot of that is a reflection of leadership. And so, Mr. Emery, thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Emery, I know you've been on this side of the table before, and sometimes people leave after their presentation, and you're more than welcome to stay if you want to, or you can leave. But we thank you for your service to the city of Marysville, and we wish you the best. Thank you. All right, moving on. We have public participation. We believe no one has. We're all good. So moving to superintendent's report.
Very good. Board, I have a few slides to share. The first one, I just wanted to share this graphic, if you will. Like I said, very excited to share that we will be integrating a new tool into our Power School student information system for the upcoming school year. One concern that I've often heard is that for families that change buildings or have multiple students at varying buildings or grade levels, the parents are required to utilize different communication tools, varying logins and passwords, and just when they get comfortable using a certain platform, changed by grade level. So we are very pleased to implement a two-way messenger system in the My Power Hub, which will be our go-to tool for communication. We will continue to implement School Messenger, which, as you may know, that's the mass email, text, and voicemail systems for emergency alerts, closings, delays. In addition, we'll be using the Safe Arrival application within My Power Hub. The Safe Arrival application will be a much more user-friendly option for families calling in absences, and we hope this integration is well received by our families and leads to better, more consistent communication while eliminating the hassle of working through different platforms so that when your child enters a new grade or building, you're not learning a new platform or system. And I also want to share that as part of the board's work plan for the upcoming school year, we will be rolling out a Let's Talk series on the first Thursday of most months except for January, and we will start this in August. We sent out a survey to contacts within our system and received feedback on what topics our families and stakeholders would like to learn more about. We will be posting this schedule to our website, communicating these in advance through social media, newsletters, and any other forms of communication. And we hope that you'll join us for these sessions, and we'll try to keep time available for folks to ask questions to better understand the topics, as well as having our district leaders present on topics within their duties here in the district. The sessions are going to be designed to last no more than 1 hour to be respectful for everybody's time. And we'll also try to record these sessions and post them to our website so stakeholders can listen to them while in their car or at a more convenient time if they can't make it on those first Thursdays. Ideally, they become a part of a library of sessions so stakeholders can select topics they'd like to learn more about, and we'll preserve those on our website. The first one I want to tout is coming up August 6th, and we will share permanent improvements and facility plans for the district, and we're certainly open and receptive to feedback as we continue to discuss these items. Board, I also want to share a quick update on enrollment within the district. During the summer months, we enroll many new students, and just this week we enrolled several new families in their students. I'll share an overall projected enrollment with the board in August, but we anticipate that at the elementary level will remain fairly consistent with growth in some buildings occurring more rapidly than others. Edgewood is an example where the houses are coming online in the Skybrook subdivision, and so we are seeing increased enrollments at Edgewood Elementary in particular because of this. We're seeing increased enrollment at Creekview and Bunsold for the upcoming school year. Our high schools are staying consistent. There's a slight decline projected at the high school by a couple students. Looking ahead, we are going to see a population crunch at Bunsold Middle School beginning not this year, but the next school year. So in 27-28, we anticipate that we're going to have to add a grade level team made up of the 4 core subject areas, and then rolling on up, we are also anticipating having to hire another 4 core area teachers to create another team in 28-29. Again, come August, we will have a much better picture of what our enrollment is going to look like, and I will share an update with the board again in August. And then last, I wanted to share an update with the board on state funding. State funding made up 57% of our revenues in fiscal year 15, but only 42% in fiscal year 25. That's a decrease in state funding of almost $2,000 per student. Our total revenue per pupil in fiscal year 15 was $12,785. Did you know that our total revenue per pupil in fiscal year 25 of $12,754 was actually less than we received 10 years ago in fiscal year 15? To make matters worse, according to the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce projections, our state funding is projected to drop by more than 10% next year. Marysville Schools has the second lowest revenue per pupil in the entire state of Ohio. To operate at such a low level of revenue, we have to run at an efficient budget. Marysville Schools has a lower expenditure per pupil than 92% of all schools in the state. That, I would say, gives us an A for efficiency. Even though it's not a mark on the report card, I think it's something to take heart in and be proud of. Happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Are there any questions by board members?
Dr. Howard, you said that the enrollment in the high school is staying relatively flat. Is that something that we're seeing students exit the Marysville school system and seek either private or alternate methods of education, or is it just kind of a lull and we should expect that to grow as that population boom continues to progress?
I think it's a lull, and again, in August, I'll know more about where we sit with our kindergarten numbers. We had a pretty decent size class last year, and so we are starting to see growth at the lower levels. We will get into projections from the state as far as enrollment as well and what we anticipate to see. But to answer your question, I think it's just, some classes tend to have 15, 20 more students than others, and I think it's a sign of that. We graduated more seniors than what we have rolling up.
The Creekview increase caught my eye, and I just, that building's near 25 years old. Are we near capacity at that number? I know we heard some of that information when we were looking at facilities, but I don't remember what the capacity at Creekview is.
We are currently not at capacity. I would say if between all of the buildings, we're tightest in Edgewood, but at Creekview, while it's nearing capacity, we still have some room to house students. So it's not a urgent necessity today, but it certainly will be as we continue to see these larger classes roll into Creekview.
I also just wanted to remark on your graphics. They look very clean and organized, and I think it summarizes the information you presented very well. So thanks for taking time to do that.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions by board members? All right, thank you, Dr. Howard. Next, we have the treasurer's report. Sorry, Mr. Johnson.
Okay, there we go. Just had to get it up there. So for the Treasurer's report, I'm going to discuss potential levy concerns and potential levy options. So first off, just defining the need, and this is something we've been talking about for quite some time now. This is our forecast summary slide, red line showing expenditures and the blue line showing revenues. We've discussed how in fiscal year 26, having to take over the preschool as well as the property tax reform significantly, well, I shouldn't say significantly, basically eroded the benefits of our new levy. And then you can look forward to fiscal year 27, and the biggest issue there is a drop in state funding of over 10%. And that's going to create, right now, what looks to be about a $7 million annual operating deficit, which is why that green line, our ending cash balance or the cash reserve, is dropping so quickly. And again, so looking at that green line, you can see we're projecting an actual cash deficit in fiscal year 30. And I make the point there, the longer that we wait to address the deficit, the bigger the levy you need to ask for, or the larger the cuts you would need to make to address that. I'm not going to go into big detail here, but so just some information on property taxes. I think most people are pretty familiar with property taxes. I make some points on there with some different legal changes that the state has made over the years. House Bill 920 a long time ago, and then property tax reform more recently. From a school revenue standpoint, the biggest impact there is it impacts or hurts our ability for our income to grow. Our revenue is not able to grow as quickly, so that means it's no longer as sustainable, and it makes school districts come back on the ballot more often. Right now, there's 477, or 78% of all schools are on the 20 mil floor, which is really why you're seeing that need for property tax reform legislation. You're seeing with all those districts on the 20 mil floor, those residents are typically seeing increases in property taxes as their valuations go up. The property tax reform laws also has somewhat limited our property tax options if we were to go forward with a new property tax levy. You have the traditional property tax is what people are generally used to. There is a new caveat there. If a carryover doesn't, you can only go for a traditional property tax if your carryover doesn't exceed more than 100% of prior year expenditures. That is a very large number, so that's not really going to be a concern for us. You can still do an emergency levy, which was our most recent levy, but they have added some regulations there as well. You have to be in fiscal caution, fiscal watch, fiscal emergency, or some sort of disaster declaration. Emergency levy is not as an attractive option as it used to be, as that now counts against the 20 mil floor, which again, what that does is limit your ability for revenue to grow. And then the third option is that incremental levy that phases in millage increases over a period of time. Hypothetically, that looks like an attractive option, but really what you end up having to do is ask for a bunch of small numbers that really add up to a bigger number than what you would have asked for under a traditional. Because the collection period is spread out over time, you're not getting that money as soon, so ultimately you end up asking for a larger number. Looking at an income tax information, so school district income tax, that's paid based on where the person lives. So a school district income tax would be paid by district residents only, and that does include renters. It's entirely based on where you live. This is different than a city income tax, which is based on where you live and where you work. Under a scenario of a school district income tax, a school employee would pay that school district income tax if they live in the district, not if they work in the district, but if they live there. And then the businesses do not pay that income tax. But it's worth pointing out, it is kind of one of the downsides of the income tax that businesses don't pay, but if you look at the effective millage in the district, currently our residential millage is about 25 mils, whereas the commercial millage is actually 38. So our commercial taxpayers are already paying a significantly higher property tax than our residential taxpayers. With school district income tax, there's two options: a traditional income tax and an earned income tax. The earned income tax option is what you typically see nowadays. That only includes employee compensation and net earnings from self-employment, and so that excludes retirement income, unemployment, workers' comp, interest and dividends, and capital gains. So really, that earned income tax is definitely more beneficial to the seniors on fixed income. Right now, around 34% of schools in Ohio, or a little over 200, have a school district income tax. And the school district income tax has to be passed in 0.25% increments. So you look at, most schools, you're seeing 0.5%, 3/4, 1%, that kind of thing. And it can be for a fixed number of years, or it can be for a continuing period of time. So looking at our options as we see that cash deficit in fiscal year 30, what are some ways we can address that? How can we fix that? So one option would be to make cuts, cut the budget to avoid having to go back for a levy. So if you look at our cash balance policy, it calls for expenditures not exceeding revenues by more than 1%. That's something that we've not met often and still are not going to be meeting in the next 5 years of the forecast, and it's why we're eating into that cash reserve. The other option, a guideline there is cash balance for the current year and following 4 years has to be at least equal to 1 month of expenditures, which would mean we would need about a balance of about $7.6 million in fiscal year 30. So we're not meeting this guideline in fiscal year 29 or 30. So when looking at what's a target, if we use that as a target, that means fiscal year 30, we want to get that balance out of the negative and up to $7.6 million. Not saying that's an ideal target. That's really somewhat of a conservative thing. We would really like to see that number larger if we're going to stay off the ballot for an extended period of time. But just so that we have a target to look at, that's what I chose. So to make that happen, if we were just looking at cuts, and again, I'm not saying we would only cut teachers, but this just makes it easier to use a steady number. Obviously, we'd be looking at all areas to potentially balance the budget. But if we were to make cuts of teachers to get that $7.6 million in fiscal year 30, we would have to cut approximately 50 teachers next year in fiscal 27. And if we waited until 28 to make those cuts, that would be 70 teachers, which obviously is very significant, not something that I think anybody wants to do, but that just shows you the significance of cuts that would need to be made to make that kind of a change. If instead of cuts, we look at levy scenarios to address the deficit, and again, assuming that target balance of $7.6 million in fiscal year 30, and also making the assumption based on Zillow that the average home value in Marysville was $371,000. Obviously, a levy would impact everybody differently depending on their property value. But let's assume that we went for a 4 or 5 mil property tax next year in fiscal year 27. A 5 mil levy would cost a homeowner of the average home about $650 per year. With that 5 mil levy, we would likely be back on the ballot within 3 years, and we would also need new millage whenever we open new buildings. So we would not only be back on the ballot in 3 years for new operating money, we would also be back on again on top of that just for new staffing for the new buildings. If we bump that up to 6 mills in 2027, that would cost $780 for the average homeowner. We would likely be back on the ballot in 4 years under this scenario, and again, we would also still need to go back on the ballot to staff new buildings whenever they opened. And I think what you're seeing here with these property tax options is the impact of the property tax reform. It's forcing districts that are going with property taxes to go back on and really creating a levy cycle. Okay, so then this slide looks at a school district income tax as an option, and again, assuming that same target cash balance in fiscal 30. And for this scenario, we're using the U.S. Census median household income average of $93,000. And again, obviously, that number is going to vary per household. So if we went with a 0.75%, a 3/4% earned income tax in 2027, we would hit our cash balance target. But unfortunately, we would likely be back on the ballot in 3 or 4 years, depending on how aggressive we would want to assume that income tax is going to grow. And really the reason we would be back on that soon is we're starting next year, fiscal 27, with an operating deficit of $7 million. So not only do we need to fill that $7 million hole, we've also got to go a little bit above that if we're going to be able to have a cash balance that keeps us off of the ballot. So if you increase that 3/4 up to 1%, so a 1% earned income tax, I think that would actually allow us to stay off of the ballot long term. Wouldn't need to be back. And one of the big factors there is in 2035, we have several TIFs that would be expiring. So as we would likely get to that point, and we would probably start to feel a little bit of a crunch, even with that income tax. But when those TIFs expire, that would then give us another boost of revenue. So really allowing us to stay off of the ballot long term, and even allowing us to likely absorb the new staffing necessary to open the buildings that we've been talking about. And again, also, we've been talking a lot about facilities funding. This has been for the last many years has been in the plan. So 2 options there. The one we've been talking about the most is that no new millage bond issue, where the 5.3 mills that we're currently collecting, we could basically ask for that to be renewed so that we could build those new buildings. 2027 would be the first opportunity we could do that. We could also do that in 2028 for that no new millage concept to work. And as we've talked about, that would be no increase in taxes for our taxpayers, but it would allow new funding. We could also, instead of the property tax option, we could ask voters for a 0.5% earned income tax for facilities. The funding generated from that option would basically generate the same funding that would allow us to do basically the same thing as the no new millage option. So those 2 options are basically interchangeable. The benefit of the income tax, though, is that 0.5% is going to likely grow over time, quite potentially growing enough where later on in the forecast, if we needed to add, per se, another new elementary, you could potentially build that new elementary with that funding without having to go back to voters for another bond issue. So looking at all those options, and the recommendation that we've come up with, and again, this isn't anything set in stone. We still have time to make for discussion, but that would be to go for a 1.5% earned income tax in 2027. So that includes that 1% for operations and 0.5% for facilities. Some of the benefits of this plan is that income tax can grow, which would allow us to stay off of the ballot long term, even with a new building. So we wouldn't be coming back, and we wouldn't be creating that levy cycle. The income tax is not reduced by TIFs. So, in our last levy cycle, the TIFs were obviously a big talking point in the community. This would obviously, TIFs wouldn't necessarily be our friend, but they would definitely not be as impactful to the district if we had an income tax. And also, you're starting to see new community authorities popping up. There's one in Dublin, and you're seeing one in Marysville East. As we're seeing in other districts, those are a new community authority. Those taxpayers are paying additional property tax compared to the rest of the residents in the district. So oftentimes, that's a section of the community that's more likely to vote no. So again, that could create more no voters for property taxes in the district, making it more difficult. If we were to have a levy cycle, it's going to make it more and more difficult to continue to pass levies. A benefit of the 0.5% instead of the bond renewal is that those 5.3 mills of property tax for the bond will actually fall off in 2030. So that would actually be a reduction of property taxes. And it would also allow us to not renew our new 5.5 mil emergency levy that would be renewable in 2035. We've talked a lot about the property tax reform laws, and while those laws have had a significant impact on the district, I don't think anyone has said that the state has fixed property tax concerns. I've not heard anybody say that I'm now happy about my property taxes. But what this plan would allow is that all residents would actually receive a reduction in their school district property taxes. I think this would be a good way to address what we're hearing in the community. And retirees would actually receive a reduction in overall taxes. And I've got a slide later that'll kind of detail that for you. Not only would retirees see the benefit of this, I think those, that are maybe 5 years, 10 years out from retirement, yeah, they're going to be paying that income tax currently, but I think they could look down the road and say, yeah, this is a temporary thing, and then once they hit that retirement, I'm going to see that same tax decrease. And there's really no such thing as an impact tax for school districts. We're not allowed to just tax parents that are using the district, but that income tax is the closest thing that you have. So with an income tax, largely those that are using the service are the ones that would experience the increase in taxes. As I mentioned, apartments is a big issue that has come up when we have done levy talks in the past, how are those apartment dwellers paying property taxes? Is really a lot of people don't understand that. Obviously, with an income tax, it's very simple. Renters would be paying those income taxes directly. Another good point that was brought up. When your property values go up, it's great to live in a community with strong property values, and it's good when your property values go up, but you really don't see any major benefit of that, nothing that you can touch until you go to sell your home. It really doesn't impact your ability to pay taxes. So when your property values go up, your ability to pay taxes doesn't necessarily go up, but your taxes will go up. Compared to an income tax, your ability to pay taxes, as it changes up or down, so will your tax bill. So if, for example, someone loses a job, their income tax liability will go down. If your income goes up 3%, so will your taxes. And obviously, we've talked about how the state has hurt our ability to create sustainable funding, whereas an income tax will grow as the community grows, which is what helps us to stay off of that levy cycle and stay off of the ballot long term. So as I mentioned, we have some examples. Again, using those averages, that $93,000 household income and the $371,000 house. So the two scenarios here on the left, if we said, what if we went for a $6 million property tax? So that annual increase to the property owner would be $779 annually for the new levy. And that just assumes that we're also going for the no new millage bond issue and assume that passes. So no change there on the bond millage. And again, one of the downsides with that property tax is we would likely be back on the ballot in around 4 years. And you see a monthly increase there of $65 per month in cost. So conversely, if we went for a 1.5% income tax based on the recommendation, that income tax increase would be around $1,400 per household. While your income tax would be going up by around $1,400, your property taxes would actually decrease by close to $700 due to the bond millage dropping off. So that's actually a net increase cost of $943 annually compared to the $780 on the property tax. So that's actually an increase of about $13 per month, but with that income tax option, it allows us to stay off of the ballot long term and accomplish the goals of the district. So if we take that same scenario and apply that to a retiree, okay, so if we look at that $6 million property tax, it impacts them the exact same as if they were, a working family. That would be an increase of $780 annually. Whereas on the income tax side, that retiree would not pay the income tax, so there's no increase to them due to the income tax. But at the same time, they would experience the decrease in taxes when that bond millage dropped off. So that senior retiree would actually save close to $700 when that bond millage dropped off. So that's actually a net decrease in taxes of $688 annually. So you compare that to the other option of the 6 mills, which was an increase of $780. That's actually a net benefit of close to $1,500 to our retired citizens here. So a couple important dates coming up. Some of those before we have to make a decision, some of them it depends. So August next month already, which seems crazy, is our next 5-year forecast will be due. October 26, that's when we'll really know what our state funding looks like for fiscal year 27. And hopefully, we'll also know what those inflationary cap credits look like from the property tax reform laws. February 27 would be the next forecast after August. And then June 27, there will be a new state biennial budget. So that's when we'll find out what state funding will look like next time around, whether they scrap the formula, come up with a new formula, who knows? So that'll be interesting to find out. And then dates as it pertains to levies. So if we were to say we wanted to go for a May of 2027 levy, January 22nd would be the deadline for the board to pass a resolution of necessity. So typically you would most likely want to pass a resolution in December or early January, because then we have to follow that resolution up with a resolution proposing the levy, and that deadline is February 3rd. So 2 different resolutions. The election date would be May 4th. Similarly, for the November of 27 levy, July 23rd would be that resolution of necessity deadline. So again, you're looking at June, early July, when that first resolution would be needed. And then August 4th is the deadline for the resolution proposing the levy for a November 2nd ballot date. That's all I have.
Questions from board members?
Treasurer Johnson, that was a lot of numbers and a lot of scenarios and a lot of maybes and ifs. But thank you for putting it together, because it actually, I think, shows based on the median income and how this could play out, and kind of the difference between both property and income taxes. But as we talk about it, and knowing the growth that we're seeing in our school district and the expectations that those working families have, if a working family asked either you, Dr. Howard, or Treasurer Johnson, what will this investment mean for my child? And how would you answer that? What improvements or protections should they expect based on this investment?
Well, I'll start. Currently, based on the forecast and that $7 million deficit that we're starting to see build up, we're not able to make good on our pledge to try to lower class sizes. And certainly with increased enrollment, I mean, the state estimates that over the next 10 years, we're going to see double the growth what we had the last 10 years. So we need additional staffing. And those numbers are really scary as far as what cuts would take place. I mean, that's an entire building in order just to balance and be where we need to be. So, and as a superintendent, I'll always pledge we want to be efficient with tax dollars. We want to make sure that we're giving our residents a lot of bang for the buck. We should be able to show that our spending per pupil is, even if it were near average of what is across the state, it would be amazing with what we could do with regard to reducing class sizes. And the biggest thing is preserving opportunities for our kids. This community loves educating the, well-rounded students in the arts, athletics, creating graduation pathways. These are things that are above state minimum, and they're also things that make Marysville a special place to be. And so it would be, more than anything, it'd be preserving the opportunities we have for our kids.
I would just piggyback on that to say a couple things. One of the biggest signs of a strong community are strong property values, and one of the biggest drivers of a strong property value is a strong school district. And I think this income tax option would allow us to continue as a strong district. And one of the reasons that income tax instead of the property tax would allow that would be consistency. With a property tax levy cycle, you're back on the ballot every 3 or 4 years, which creates a lot of stress on staff, puts stress on students. You saw what happened with our pay to participate fees, with SROs, all those different changes that just creates inconsistency. The best thing we can do for kids is create a consistent environment where they're not stressed out on things that they shouldn't be stressed out about.
And we know that working families definitely want consistency in their costs, right? So the more that we can manage, the more that they can anticipate, the better. So thank you for those, both of you, for those explanations.
Yeah, I really appreciate the information and the time you put into that. Most of you know, well, I know everybody on this board knows, and probably most of the community knows that I'm a major advocate of the earned income tax over property taxes. I believe it demonstrates a more equitable distribution of taxes. It definitely has provides less impact on our seniors. That is something that is very important to me. 25% of our residents, Marysville residents, are over 65, and these skyrocketing property values are impacting them severely, to the point where many of them are, scared that they're going to lose their homes. And, if there's, that is a vulnerable community, and we need to protect them at all costs. And I think that putting this earned income tax on the ballot will show that we are committed to helping them. And I think that they'll be on board with us. I also think that this will improve our housing affordability problem that we have. Because if the property taxes are lower, that will help the affordability. And maybe that will encourage home ownership. A lot of younger people are looking just to rent long term. And probably a lot of that has to do with the fact that property taxes are so high. And so if we can encourage home ownership and they're not looking like double their mortgage payment because of property taxes, that will help with the affordability. So I am just a huge advocate of this proposal. I really believe that if we can educate the public and parents and everyone, this is something that will save our district. And the other thing is, it keeps the money out of the pockets of the city. This puts all the money in the pockets of the district. And that is something that we need to make sure we're doing.
Are there any questions or comments?
I thought it was a nice touch, Todd, how you showed the property taxes decreasing if the income taxes. That's something to think about, that a lot of people probably would have that question, so addressing it before they have the question is a good idea. So thank you for showing that.
I do, I guess, Leanne, do you have a question? All right. Could you go over the numbers, how much the income tax would generate per year? And then my second question is, with the bond or the facilities plan, how does the 0.5% impact our ability to manage those bonds? Because I'm very familiar with the property tax formula, how property tax bonds, we are all familiar with that, but can you just share how this will help our facility plan as well? If we do this combo option, and 3 questions, I'm sorry. Is it a 1 question on the ballot or 2 questions?
I'll answer that easy one first. It would be 1 question on the ballot, so it's just 1 vote. The question of the income tax generated, so, and again, these are estimates from the Ohio Department of Taxation, and that's based on 2025 data, so that's a number that changes every year. But based on our most recent information, 0.5% of income tax would generate just over $6 million. 0.75% would generate just over $9 million, and 1% would generate just over $12 million. And obviously, those are large numbers, but the thing I would point you to is that fiscal year 27, we're projecting a $7 million operating deficit. So that's, again, before we do anything, we've got to fill that hole. And question number 3 was the 0.5% compared to the no new millage.
Yeah, just how does that impact with purchasing bonds with
Yeah.
using income tax revenue rather than property tax?
So I'll just go big picture, and if we want to really get in the weeds, we can go there and maybe even bring in our bond counsel to discuss it. But so from a big picture standpoint, it's going to look about the same. So if you think about quite a few years back when we did the stadium renovation, we did something called tax anticipation notes. So basically that's the bank or whoever's lending us the money is looking and saying, well, we see that you've got this dedicated line of funding for this project to pay off the debt, so we're going to give you a loan. So when you're talking about income tax, it's not the same as bonds. The funding mechanism is not. But in essence, the end result is the same. The interest rates are about the same, and we probably do a 27, 30-year debt issuance. So big picture, it's about the same. Now, I guess the one thing I would point out, when we talk about the idea of term limited income tax or continuing, if you're doing let's say a 30-year debt issuance, that 0.5% income tax would have to be at least a 30-year debt income tax so that it's for the term of the debt.
Okay, thank you. Question is, I know at least the last 10 years, maybe since 2008, the economy in Central Ohio has been relatively stable and growing. So as a job stability in Central Ohio, and wages seem to either be stagnant or rise. What's the risk with an income tax option, just trying to weigh the pros and cons, if we enter a recession, and then how would that impact us, and how quickly could we react?
Yeah, there's definitely always risk that an income tax could go down. Let's say a large company left, or or there was a recession. I have discussed with our consultant for the 5-year forecast, does several hundred districts across the state, many of those with an income tax, and he said around Central Ohio, they've been seeing an increase of around 6 to 8% annually every year. If you look at our estimates from a year ago to what they are today, it was an increase of 8%. So that's in line with what's happening in Central Ohio. I think it's probably safe to assume, a 6% increase annually. It's probably aggressive and optimistic, but you could also, considering we're growing, you might look at that 8% number. Again, I don't like to assume best case, but that would probably be best case scenario.
And so that 6% rate of growth for income tax, what's the rate of growth for property tax revenue?
Well, you really can't, and it's even, I guess it'll be a little easier to predict nowadays, but you can't do a predicted growth rate, partly because now it's that tied to that inflation factor. It used to be, I would have to make a projection. What is the revaluation number going to be from the county auditor? Is it going to be 28%? Is it going to be 22%? That's going to create a big variation in the forecast, and you really have no way to know what that's going to be. Now the number is going to be capped based on that inflation factor. So it makes it a little easier to guess, at least, but at the same time, it also decreases the revenue growth. And it's not as big of an increase as we would have seen in the past.
But I'm guessing it's less than 6%.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
No, I just wanted to make
Well,
that.
and then the
Potentially,
kicker
there's some years, like maybe recently, maybe it was maybe more, if that.
But you would only see that increase once every 3 years. So you get the revaluation or the reappraisal year, that's when you would see a significant increase. So you would see a bump in those years, but then in the 2 years following, you would see next to nothing. Only based on new construction would you see some growth. That number would be a pretty small percentage, maybe a couple $100,000. And I guess the issue is, too, I think what you're going to start seeing, everybody's been kind of freaking out about the high revaluation or reappraisal numbers. I think you're going to start to see that level off. You're starting to see that in some other counties across Ohio already. So what that means is, good for our taxpayers. You're probably going to start seeing lower percentage increases, more in line with what you're maybe historically used to. But from a revenue standpoint, that our real estate tax growth would probably be leveling off as well.
Thank you.
And-
Go ahead.
oh, And so kind of what you were asking, Jermaine, if we had a recession or something, I mean, historically, even when that happens, those dips don't last terribly long. So even if we had a dip in revenue for a couple of years, usually the uptick makes up for it,
Yeah, I would agree
kind of
with
like the
that.
stock market.
Yep.
So,
That's why
There's
we have
not
a
a
rainy
huge-
day. That's why we have a cash
Yeah.
reserve. You're planning for that rainy day.
so really, even though the risk is there, there's not too much of a concern, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if the future board, if this is successful, would have to probably look at, reevaluate the cash balance policy, because I would want maybe to increase it from 1 month to have more safeguards in place. But let's talk timeline. So let's just say that we present this option to the voters, the vision along with it. In 2027, the voters adopt it. When does the collections and when does the district, because I know you're mentioning in 27 we are in an operating deficit of 6.5, 7 million. The next year it's 6 million, and then the year after that it's 8.7 million that
Right.
we're in operating deficit. So when will this, say if the voters were successful, when we have the facilities plan that we're on track, we have a time sensitive, for the Coles cash, right?
Right.
The helping with the state pitch in their share of facility upgrades. But from the operational side, when will we see that income tax kick in if we passed in 2027?
Yeah, I mean, with any levy, there's always a certain urgency. With an income tax, it's even more so because the collection does not happen immediately like a property tax. So we would begin collecting in 2020, if we passed it in 2027, we would begin collecting in 2028. But the amount of revenue that we would typically collect would be small because it takes a while for it to ramp up to full collection. Whether we went in May or whether we went in November of 2027 would have no impact on when we would collect. So theoretically, if you went in November, that's your one shot. If November fails, we're either most likely making cuts or, theoretically asking for a larger levy. If you go in May of 27 and it fails, then you've got another chance in November to where it really has no impact on our revenue. So that would give you two chances.
You said we'll receive the revenue in 2029. Is that what I heard?
2028.
2028.
Yeah.
Collection. Okay. So do you have are there any other questions? I just have maybe a comment. When I first applied to serve on this board, something I mentioned is I want to make decisions that are based on the next 10 years, not just the immediate. And the last time we went through this level of cycle, it's never easy to ask anyone for money for anything, let alone tax dollars. And this is a very serious and important duty of ours. And even earlier today, I just saw something about teachers asking for school supplies, and I'm just thinking, why is that? Why do we live in a country where we have to fundraise for school supplies and always are on the ballot for school revenue, when education should be just a basic service that is provided? While we do have a responsibility to make sure that we are reflecting the community's values and stewarding tax dollars, why is it so hard? That was kind of the question, is why is it so hard? This income tax option could diversify our revenue stream and make it a little bit easier and help us without having the disruptive nature of a levy. I've seen it. I'm a little uneasy about going into it just because of the last 2, maybe 3 years. I don't know how long it was. It seemed like it was a large chunk of my life, the levy. We want to do right by students. We want to do right by our staff. We want to do right by our taxpayers. This is an increased burden. This is an option for our community to help, join the conversation. What do we want our schools to look like? What is the service do you want to receive? And then there's the cost burden is towards working families, which most of us who are working are having kids or nieces and nephews in the schools. We're closer to who's being served and our next generation. And unfortunately, even in this earned income tax, even some students will be paying to support their own educational system, which is interesting. However, this gives us the best shot to have stability. And our teachers, they want annual increases. This helps us provide annual increases. They deserve, not just want, they deserve it too, right? They're providing a service, just like in the private sector. We are going after that, and as well in our own individual lives. So I think this will bring some revenue. It will decrease the property tax burden, which is, even on Sunday, I was at a litter cleanup, and this came up. Hey, my parents, their property tax bill is super high, and it's causing people to have conversations. And so property tax is real, this is a real problem. Schools, we kind of are in the middle of this, and everyone kind of points to us as if we're the ones causing the problem, and it's not us, and it becomes a Spider-Man meme pointing fingers at each other, the state, and whatever. But this option gives us some revenue, it enhances our revenue, gives us some stability for 10 years, helps our facilities plan with also lowering property taxes, and then also helps us ease our relationship with the city. And there's no economic development tool I could find that could be in place that impacts school income tax. And so that's also something that would, we still need to be diligent in the property tax abatements and TIFs that do come up, because we still depend, we still have a lot of revenue from property tax base, but it does help us ease the pain a little bit. If those things came up, we can look at them, still judge them by the merits of the project. Community authorities are coming online into Marysville, and I don't have hard data, but Dublin schools in the precincts where there was a community authority can charge for pretty much property tax mills on top of what you are paying to your government. And the Union County precincts, Dublin schools lost their levy. And I wonder, I don't have hard data, but I wonder if it was because the community authority is in that township. So that's something that's coming on the horizon, and this will help us get out in front of it. So I do thank you for the recommendation. We have a lot of questions and more conversation, and we really need the community to kind of weigh in now over the few months to help us craft this decision. But it is a community problem, and it's a community decision, and as board members, it's our job to put our best recommendation forward, and I think that's what we're working to do. Are there any other questions or comments? That was just a presentation, right? You have anything else, Mr.?
I'm all done.
Okay. Thank you. Let's do something a little bit fun. Student achievement report, potentially, maybe. Class is out, so we'll see.
I was going to say, it's not going to be super fun because everybody's off, hopefully having great times with their families. Kids that are working, hopefully enjoying their summer break as we slowly inch towards school coming back online. I know I've been seeing lots and lots of kids out running, like getting ready for cross country. Band started practice, like all of our fall sports kids are gearing up for their fall season. So that's all I have today.
Well, I will tell you, I know it's not the school system sports, but we did have some great, championship, all-star games going around the county. I think Raymond actually won one of them for 8U softball, in case anyone's following 8U softball. But what I have to say, whether it be soccer, and I know our football teams are going, and there's 7-on-7s, and those boys were very hot last night. It's great to see the community getting back together and the support, and you see it whether you're at the Union County field or you're at Ray Lewis. So a huge congratulations to those kiddos that are out there on the baseball fields and the softball fields, the various camps that are going around communities. So just want to call that out. They don't always get the shout outs, but wanted to give them a little bit of a pep talk. So thank you.
Thank you. Legislative report.
There's 3 new laws that governor has signed that took in effect mid-June. Senate Bill 450 was using the biannual budget and capital appropriations. I think I mentioned this before, but the Facilities Commission, there's $600 million within that. Senate Bill 19, the evidence-based math interventions. Will that be this year, Dr. Howard, that that will come into effect, those math interventions, evidence-based?
Yes, correct.
All right. And then House Bill 479, Mr. Johnson and I said they kind of came out of nowhere, but it affects inside millage, 20 mil floor, inflationary cap. It seemed like some of the changes that took place in March kind of muddied the water around the 20 mil floor. And so this may help districts a little. It doesn't sound like us. And it's not going to be much, but that's at least something that would be in the school district's favor, the House Bill 479. One that I thought was interesting is waiting governor approval. I thought it was interesting because of you, Jermaine, being former military. House Bill 455, deployment is not considered insufficient terms of service for board members. And I guess I was kind of surprised when I read that it was if you were deployed and not serving on the board because you were deployed. It makes sense that something like that would come into effect. So that's waiting governor approval, though.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Hearing none. I did overlook my report. I do just have two things. One, we had a special meeting that's reflected in our minutes that we're about to approve. We went over our work plan that we're going to talk about here. We conducted our evaluations of our superintendent and treasurer. They're doing a good job and have full support of the board. No concerns there. And also, we are looking at potential, the work plan we're going to discuss tonight. Two things I want to share outside of that is that the United Way will be donating school supplies again this year and delivering them to the schools. So we just want to thank our local Union County United Way for their support. Additionally, Marysville Walmart will be running a school supply drive beginning August 1st. And it will culminate with a Pack the Bus event that's going to be held at Walmart on Saturday, August 8th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So we invite the community to participate in that. The transportation team will park a bus in the parking lot, and Walmart will pack the bus with supplies that are donated. Additionally, they're donating $1,000 worth of school supplies to the drive as well. So we encourage residents to shop at Walmart and also donate some supplies there. With that timeline, the Ohio sales tax holiday this year will take place from midnight Friday, August 7th until 11:59 Sunday, August 9th. This exemption will apply to items of clothing priced at $75 or less, school supplies priced at $20 or less, and school instructional materials priced at $20 or less. There will be no expanded sales tax holiday. I think that's going to your property tax credit this year. Being serious, it is. And there will be no, however, this is a great advantage to go ahead and get your school supplies and anything that you want to do in person here in the state of Ohio. So that's all I have at this time. Next on our agenda, we have the approval of our draft minutes from June 18th regular meeting and June 23rd special meeting submitted by our treasurer, Todd Johnson. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes from the prior meetings.
Thank you.
Second.
It was moved by Board Member Shepherd, second by Board Member McIntosh. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Ms. Shepherd?
Yes.
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 Yes. The motion is approved. The minutes are adopted. Next, under Board of Education items, we have a recommendation to approve the Board of Education goals and work plan for the 26-27 school year.
I'll move to approve the Board of Education goals and work plan for the 2026 and 2027 school year.
Thank you.
I second.
It's been properly moved by Board Member McIntosh and seconded by Board Member Mabry. Any discussion? No discussion. So this is our work plan. It'll be posted online. I do think we should highlight some things that we're looking to do. Obviously, Let's Talk series is coming, and thank you to our district and the administration's leadership to supporting us from that. Something that we're going to kind of put together is we're going to seek to establish student representation to the Board of Education. We will conduct building visits twice a year, but also try to engage our students and at least one of those rounds of student-led building tours. Also, increasing student-led presentations. Looking down, we already talked about the Let's Talk. We're going to potentially look at a local business advisory council. We're going to explore that option this year. We're going to rebrand our community coffee to office hours. We do have office hours here on Sunday before the board meeting, the regular board meeting. However, there's really not, unless you bring your own coffee, there's no coffee, and it's Sunday at 2 p.m. And it's at the board office, so office hours might be appropriate. However, we are going to look at kind of going outside to where people are at, and we're going to have board members kind of working on that plan to get us out of these walls and into the community so we can have more natural conversations with people and just be a friendly face to say hi. Am I missing anything? I think that's pretty high-level review. Okay. We have a motion, second, discussion. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes, the work plan is approved. Thank you. Next, we have first read policies. Dr. Howard?
Yes, thank you, Board. Board, there are 3 policies up for a first reading. Just to summarize those briefly, the first is a credit card policy that essentially acknowledges that fees associated with credit card use has become a normal cost of business, but indicates when feasible alternative payment methods that do not include such convenience fees would be utilized to minimize cost. There's the second and third policy addresses administering medicine to students, including the change with EpiPens being referred to as auto injectors to epinephrine delivery systems. Now that there are nasal spray options too. And I do know our state representative, Tracy Richardson, was impactful in getting this across as well too. So shout out to her. But happy to answer any questions you may have. Again, this is a first reading.
Are there any questions? All right, hearing none. Again, this will be back at our next meeting, regular meeting. If you have any questions, please reach out to Dr. Howard and his team. Next, we have recommendation to approve policies for student absences and excuses and truancy. Dr. Howard?
Sure. Board, again, we're asking you to approve these 2 policies. These are centered around student absences and excuses and truancy. There is a legal requirement that that requires that these policies be put in place or approved by August 1st. This update moves absence language into the absence policy and out of the truancy policy.
Thank you, Dr. Howard. I did not yet have a motion to adopt this resolution. I should have done that first. Is there a motion?
I will motion to adopt these policies. I'll second.
It's been moved and properly second. We have discussion. Any other questions from board members? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Ms. McIntosh?
Yes.
Ms. Mabry?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Ms. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson?
Yes, the policies are adopted. Next, we have a recommendation to approve the resolution ratifying the change order for paving work at Marysville High School.
I'll motion to approve the change order.
I'll second.
It's been properly moved and second. Dr. Howard?
Yes, Board, again, this is a ratify change order for the paving project at Marysville High School. It was discovered prior to laying asphalt that there was a portion of the parking lot that needed soil stabilization in order to properly prepare it to lay asphalt and hopefully preserve it for, a lengthy amount of time that we would all expect with a paving project. So we're asking the board to approve this.
And I would just note this is a case of easy come, easy go. So when we put out the bid, it actually came in about $300,000 or $400,000 lower than we expected. So that was great news. We were excited, and then this happened. So it kind of wiped out the savings, but at the same time, it's not as bad as it seems because we did get a significantly lower bid than we expected.
Dr. Howard, this additional expense is $390,000, correct?
That's correct, yes, just shy.
Okay.
I think there's a question I read somewhere about the vetting process of the proposal. Can someone just explain or update the board and the community about what's the process normally, and then could have this been caught earlier on before this particular provider presented a bid?
Yeah, I can give a high-level overview. So in a project like this, our district consults with an engineering company that builds out the specs. That way, well before we put a project out to bid, that we know that the proper procedures are going to be implemented in order to pave it appropriately. We did note, or the engineering company did note, that there was an area that would consistently hold water and didn't drain well. So they did require additional drainage in that area. However, when that same company came out to do a proof roll, discovered that the soil was still not stable enough. So we had to stabilize it. But to answer your question, we utilize outside company, engineering firm, to help provide the specs. That way, Chemcoat, who was awarded this bid, they came in and did everything that was asked of them. However, the soil stabilization was not a part of that. And while it's unfortunate, at the same point in time, it's good that there's checks and balances, in that we had an independent firm come in and do the proof roll, so we know that, hey, we are protecting our investment in the parking lot. In a parking lot project, it's a hefty price, but sometimes this is the cost of doing business too, especially with construction.
Thank you for the explanation. Again, as Treasurer Johnson mentioned, this was significantly below budget, and that was kind of a surprise when we voted on that. It was kind of, you said, we're really fortunate to see it. So really, in the grand scheme of things, we're kind of right in line. Is that true? We're right in line with the original budget?
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, if you have a child who's trying to drive and practice maneuverability, the cones have been moved to ECHS's parking lot, just in case you might be in a car with a permitted driver.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes, the resolution is adopted. Next, we have a recommendation to approve the RTU replacement at Marysville High School.
I'll move to approve the RTU replacement at Marysville High School.
I'll second.
It's been probably moved in second. Dr. Howard?
Yes, board. A while back, this board approved a rooftop unit, or RTU, for the HVAC system to replace the one that was above the Commons cafeteria area at the high school. We knew through our facilities planning that the RTU above the band room was also failing, but we were putting that off for the next fiscal year, to have that replaced. Thankfully, Train, when we had an estimate done, they had erroneously commissioned to have two of these built. They're specialized units. Well, over that really hot week over July 4th, the band unit actually failed. So it's perfect timing. But even prior to that, Train came to us and is offering us a $30,000 discount if we go ahead and purchase this. So it ends up being a win and really a necessity, because our band kids are going to appreciate HVAC.
Dr. Howard, knowing that we get the $30,000 benefit of their mistake, is there any benefit in terms of installation, knowing that you've got the crew on site to do the cafeteria one simultaneously?
I think so too. The other thing that we had discussed is just with the cost of inflation. If we were to wait till the next year, how much more would we have paid so we're getting a $30,000 savings on the second unit. But what would that have been over and above if we waited to next year? So we think it's a good step forward.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes, the resolution is adopted. Next, I have a recommendation to approve all Treasurer CFO action items.
I motion to approve the treasurer CFO action items.
Thank you.
I'll second.
It's been properly moved in second. Treasurer Johnson.
One thing I would point out is that June 30 marked the end of our fiscal year, so the cash flow on there is all actual numbers. The cash flow looks back to our original budget, so if you look at revenues for the year, they ended up coming in 2.4% over our original projections, which equates to about $1.7 million. The main driver there were increases in valuations, which led to property tax increases. On the expenditure side, we were 0.2% off, which was pretty close, so we did a pretty good job there. We were $160,000 under budget. If you look at revenues versus expenditures for the year, we were almost equal, pretty well the same, so our cash balance stayed about the same. We were originally projecting to have a slight operating deficit of over $1 million, but that increase in revenue bumped it up to where we were about even. Looking at the other items, there's a couple donations on there, American Red Cross and Boston's Pizza, and then a big one from Nippon Express and NX Automotive. They give us $33,000 per year to help with our English Learners Program.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from board members? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Ms. Mabry?
Yes.
Ms. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Ms. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson?
Yes, the action items are approved. Next, we have a recommendation to approve all superintendent action items listed.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
It's been properly moved in second. Dr. Howard.
Thank you, Board. There are fewer items this month, being that it is July. We still have our standing HR items. It has been a busy hiring season, as it always is in the summer, preparing for the upcoming school year. We also have the 26-27 bus stop set for approval. I'll warn everybody, don't print that. But if you want to see the sheer volume of what it takes to try to track the timing and turn by turn, it is an interesting document to take a look at. So we're asking you to approve that, Board. There are no volunteers in the HR report for the month of July, but I'm sure we'll have a plethora coming up in August. Always grateful for our volunteers. And we're also asking the Board to approve the substitute and hourly rates for the school year as attached.
Thank you, Dr. Howard. Are there any questions or comments by board members? Hearing none, roll call.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Ms. Mabry?
Yes.
Ms. McIntosh?
Yes.
Ms. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson?
Yes, the action items are approved. Next, we have comments and questions from board members. I'll start with Ms. McIntosh.
No, nothing for me. I think it's been a great summer, and it's scary to think that in a month we'll be staring down first day of school.
Thank you. Ms. Shepherd.
I just wanted to comment again on, Todd, your research and dedication to exploring all the options for an upcoming levy is appreciated. That's a lot of work on your part, answering all the what-if questions that we might have. So it's really appreciated, and I do like the idea of us maybe not being able to not have to go back on the ballot again. I think our community could use a break from all of the levy cycling, which would be great. Even though school is almost here, buying school supplies is always one of my favorite times of the year. So hopefully families and kids are excited for those fresh new school supplies. You can think about them, like wait till August to think about them. It's still only July. And then good luck to all those families and students as they get ready to start a new school year, all the excitement and the nerves that come with walking into a new classroom, a new teacher, maybe a new building, making new friends, figuring out your place. It's always an exciting and stressful time. So good luck to everybody, because our next board meeting is the first day of school. So it'll be here fast.
Do we take a back to school picture too as a board?
It's a good idea.
Mr. Keller.
No questions or comment?
Ms. Mabry?
I just wanted to note that you mentioned the August 8th Walmart Pack the Bus event does coincide with the sales tax holiday. So anyone who wants to buy those school supplies that maybe doesn't have kids to buy for, they could just pick some up and drop them off at the bus that day. Might be just a nice gesture. So take advantage of the tax holiday.
Thank you. That's a great idea. I don't have anything to share tonight. I think everyone, I'm sorry, Dr. Howard.
Yeah, sorry, excuse me. One of the things that I thought I'd want to share with the board and anybody out there listening as well this evening is recently announced the Fall Meet the Teams and Band event is going to be Sunday, August 16th at 6 p.m. It's something that was started new last year, and it's a great event. It's a great way to see the entire community come together before the start of school. So wanted to tout that. And then if you notice, board, you're always a colorful bunch, but maybe a little bit more this evening. So Leanne, thank you very much for providing the beautiful flowers.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I think everyone is middle of summer, so we're going to go ahead and just adjourn the meeting, right? We have to have a motion to adjourn. Does anyone want to?
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you. We have a second?
I will second that.
It's been properly moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. The meeting is adjourned at 7:27 p.m. Thank you.